Hello everyone, so welcome to the session and let's first of all discuss agenda that we are going to see today. And today's agenda is going to be useful for those situations where we are going to focus a lot on JavaScript, as it's going to be covering advanced JavaScript in Lightning. So this is something we are going to use. Let me use a generic word, let's say Salesforce, so that whatever is your next project you can use this in both classic lightning, because javascript usage is regular and now getting higher in salesforce. Okay, so let's start with the first topic in this process. So here in this process we are going to understand some important stuffs, something related to advanced java, from which is starting with the concept called as let me open yesterday's notes, and we decided that we will go with the first point, that is called as JavaScript objects. So let's proceed and try to see something about JavaScript objects. So this is something from yesterday's notes. So we wrote these all the things. So let's proceed for this. So the way we have objects which can contain very much useful information, whether you go for Apex programming or any other programming. Similar to that also in Java we have that concept like it's a real entity. So here let me just mention JS objects. The way in the way in other programming language we use the concept object, which refers to a real thing, something in the real instance, or something which is going to give us some kind of scope to use the method or to use the function, etc., etc. Similarly, in the same note, if you go for JavaScript, then we have the same concept called as object, which is going to help us and provide us the real thing. So same in JavaScript. Object in JavaScript is like a real thing. Let's say bus. Okay, and now like a bus, and now the bus will be having properties. Okay, same it can be for this car. Okay, so the way car or any vehicle or any school or any company, we can very easily distribute those things in two things. The way bus has some properties and some actions to take, we can define them easily in JS like below. Okay, so two things we define. One is property, which is nothing but storing the values, and next is nothing but the methods. So let me mention here, for example, object object is equal to bus. Okay, and properties. Now inside the properties, you can mention anything which is related to that. For example, you can mention bus.name is related to, let's say for example, Volvo. Okay, bus dot weight bus dot color. Okay, so you can write something like this. Let's say bus name. Let's say for example 1000 kg, something like that, and bus dot color. Let's say for example red. Okay, so this way we can add the properties. Plus we can also add the methods. Same to the bus. Okay, so what we can do is uh, we can mention here that bus dot start or bus dot break, etc, etc. So let me mention here bus dot start. Let's say start the bus, a function. Okay, bus dot break. Let's say we are stopping the bus dot, let's just stop, something like this. Okay, so this way we can have properties also. So this way you can manage and deal with anything in the real time existence, okay, or real existence. So here one thing to understand that all buses have the same properties, but the property value differ from bus to bus, right? And all buses have same methods, but the methods, how they are going to perform or when they are going to perform at, they will be at different time, and this is how actually object to object things differ. Okay, so let me just mention here all buses have same property, but they can be of different values. Also, they have same methods but can be used in different times. So this way we can have the different differences, and this way objects are separated from each other, like they have some kind of different existence with different values. Okay, so this way we can cover, we can generate object for any instance in JavaScript or any real thing. So let's see now how we can create the JavaScript object. So the way we previously understood where and something, that's it, that is called as JavaScript object. It's very straightforward. And now let me tell you something about this. So let's say uh, we are going to write now. By the way, the objects are also same like a variable. They will be having compulsory where and something. Okay, so we will do one thing. We'll declare one object where, and let's say we'll write in a object specific model, because the values are written in always name and value pair. Okay, and the various names and values are separated by comma. Okay, so let me mention, and like they are very you can say straightforward format like JSON and all. So let me show you how it is done. Declaring JS object. See here, first of all you write where, then let's say bus 1 for example, then this, then bracket. Okay, in the bracket you can separate the values with each other, like whatever values are there you can separate it easily. Okay, so for example like you can mention the first you need to mention the property. Let's say type or the name of the vehicle equal to Volvo, like this. Okay, so the property and then value. So let me take name, weight and color. Just write here name, weight, color. That's it. In front of that you mention your values in the quotation mark. And as there is no value after this, so I am removing the comma. So this is what exactly called as declaration of object in JavaScript. So if you see here, the format is name and value. So first is the name, and then we have separate value, and then every such name and value pair is like separated by colon. Okay, and then once name is done, value done, comma, like this. Okay, so this is actually how we write the JavaScript code. Now the please note one more important thing. Whenever you are going to have some kind of functionality, let's say like name value pairs of you are going to set, that name value pair format, whatever you are going to have, they are actually called as uh, the pair is called as properties. Okay, so we have, let's say for example, first name, and let's say the property is shaker. So this is a property value shaker. So this way it is called, it's also mentioned by this way, that the property value is nothing but the name value pair. Okay, so let me mention that also. The name value pair in JavaScript is called as property, and let me give an example. The name value pair mentioned above, they are called as properties in JS. Okay, so here property, more example. So let's say property, and then value. Property, let's say first name, let's say Shekhar, let's say country, let's say India. So like this we can have the properties and their values, and this property value is the pair that actually we can have. Okay, so name value pairs which is provided is actually a property. Okay, and property we can mention with the property value. Okay, let's go for next thing now. Now the object methods are nothing but the functions that can be performed by object, and and the methods are like they're like we can store in a definition. Okay, so object methods are nothing but functions which we can perform related to that object. Okay, so here we can write functions, and these functions can perform some kind of activity. Let's say for example, I'm having a function called as, for example, the function like speed. Okay, so speed I'm writing in a function. So I'm writing speed, and then I'm writing now this again comes under the property section, and here please note we can just take the benefit of property. Let's say for example I'm calculating speed of the bus, then I can calculate the uh, let's say, or for example average of the bus, then I can calculate by total distance, and then average speed if you want to calculate, then total distance and time, like this. So you can also perform this kind of activity. So these functions deal with some variables, can deal with the property, can deal with any kind of uh, functionality. It's like it's common, it's a regular approach. Okay, So let me now mention one type of function. Let's say speed of the bus. If you want to just uh, take the take the speed. So for example, we will go for, let's say, distance. We'll go for distance, and then we will go by time, and then we will just write something like this. Okay. So let's say you want to call some kind of functions. Let's say this is the property name, that function name, and the function I'm creating here. In that function, I'm just returning a value. It's like this. That's it. So we are just going with this pattern that we can write by the way in single line. Just I'm writing a single line like this. Okay. So this is actually we can take the benefit of the functions, and also we can take the benefit of the properties. Okay. So this is one more important thing. Next, apart from that, now so whenever actually you are going to create in the same fashion, whenever you are going to create any kind of object also, so you can also divide the object in the same format. For example, let me mention, in same format we can present object as well. Okay. So for example, if you just see here, our object is like this. Okay, so you can do the same thing. This actually gives you good visibility, and when you are going to use, write the client side controller, and you are going to get some kind of value from the server side. At that time we use this kind of format. Okay, because we have to work on the return values from the apex class, and to make the things more clear and more visible, we proceed for this format. Remember this. Okay. And whenever we want to access the object properties, okay, then we can access the object properties by two ways. Let me just mention. So next point is accessing the object properties. To access the object properties, we can just do by this way, two ways, and we can write either object name, property name, and something like this. Okay. Example, bus one, then let's say color. Okay. Or bus one, this is the object, and then give bracket color. Single quotation, double quotation, all fine. Okay. So this way we can also work. This is something very popular, so you can stick with this. And this is something not so popular, but here you can go with this. Okay, because it's a very popular way to call any property from the object in other language also. So you can continue the same thing. And if you want to access the methods, then it's again the same way, the object name and the method you can have. So that's also possible. Let me just mention that also. So something like this, bus one dot speed. Okay. So this way you can perform the activities. Next, any question till this point? Everyone clear? Any question? Everyone clear? Okay, fine. And note one thing, method is actually nothing but a function definition. This definition of the function, where is that? This one. This is the definition of function, but we are storing like a value. Okay, property value. So this is a property speed. Where is that? This is nothing but a property speed, and against that we are defining the function. So instead of like the way we store country equal to India, so we are also giving the name to the function speed, and we are writing this definition. So this is nothing but the value of the property. So remember, the format of storing a value like first name, country, etc., or storing the function is almost same in JavaScript. This is something different or new thing you can see here. Okay, so here we are storing this definition against this value. So this will be making us no confusion. We just know that it's a kind of value pair, that's it, or name value pair format, that's it. Okay. Okay, so now next is now we are going to understand the next point we understood about the object. The next topic which we discussed yesterday is talking about the events. So guys, event is something which is very important and a very special point taken by the JavaScript, and from the JavaScript into the Salesforce Lightning. So like events are nothing but the things that happen with your markup. This is a general statement. So let's say you have button clicked, you have radio button click, here you have checkbox click. So on this event, by the way, this is event generated by your user, and on this event we need to respond, that's it. So this event can be like nothing but something which user is going to do on the browser, and like for example I said that input value change, button click, etc. Now when events happen, we generally do something, we just generally have to do something. When button is pressing, we have to do something. When the pick list value change, we have to perform something. So in this case, JavaScript helps us to execute this code in which we are interested. Okay, and so in this case, what we do is, for example, let's say we are going to write some kind of code, and let's say we want to perform some kind of function. Okay, so let me just mention that, and then proceed. Now, as it's a separate topic, so I'm going to write two lines, and let me mention here events in JS. Now please note, as JS works at browser level, events are very useful. Events means nothing but some activity done by user on browser, like click of button, and we mostly respond to such events by executing some specific lines of code to ensure our business logic will work. Okay, so we'll ensure business logic will be working, that's it. And for example, now JS supports events uh, to ensure we can cover many real-time business cases. Example, now I will tell you one example of the JavaScript event, which is nothing but, let's say we have a button, and now this event is, we are going to write like a standard event, something which is already present, something which is already present. Okay, so for example, let's say in the like in the JavaScript code, let's say we have a function, and the function name is, let's say for example, show date, something like this. Okay, and let's say I'm writing something like this. You can see, let's say I have created a button, and this is standard event process. So it's already declared this event on click in the JavaScript. So whenever the button is clicked, then it is our duty to define what you want to do. So let's say this is markup. Okay, let's say I'm just showing here. This is markup, so that it can be written in JavaScript, sorry, VF page or HTML or Lightning, anywhere. Okay, and here I'm going to write. Now you know very well we need to write all the things in script. So I'm just writing here like this, and function show date and some code. Okay, what you want to show, some code or something, we want to return anything. Okay, so this way you can see this is something markup, and here event is initiated, and here function, here we give response to event. That's it. So like this we perform some kind of activity on happening of something. This is JavaScript event, and we have such lots of standard events: button click, value change, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm going to mention some kind of various popular events that we actually use in JavaScript, that can be used in multiple cases, and wherever JavaScript support, or wherever we have JavaScript supported technology, let's say for example Lightning, we can very well use that. Okay, so for example, some popular events in JavaScript. So on change, on click, so let's say some value change of the pick list, so changes for example, and pressing of button, something like this. So on mouse over, so taking mouse cursor on any element, taking away mouse cursor. Now in this case we are taking away, okay, from any element. So pressing keyboard button down, something like this, and here on page load, you want to perform something, the page loaded, then automatically the event is called. So you can see here how browser loaded and all. So this actually makes us very easy to handle many scenarios. Now we don't, if you want to do some kind of activity when the browser is loaded, just look at this, you don't need to do any extra thing, just write onload event and that's it, and you mention if this happening, then call function A, function B, that's it, automatically everything will be done. So this makes our work very easy. Okay, and uh, and even event handlers can be used to handle, verify the user input and perform some actions. Okay, so event handlers are those entity which handles above events, or in fact any JavaScript event which most and which mostly perform below things. What they do? Perform data validation, let's say check and process user input. Okay, these are two common things which generally they do. Apart from that, these events we can also use whenever actually we have to verify the data and etc. Okay, so that's the same. These are some common activities that events will be doing, and we will get the solution by that, and we get lots of support by these event handlers because that only executes our business logic. So this is something about now the event. Okay, so any question before proceeding to next level? These events are very popular, and we use this almost every time whenever we want to use any JavaScript code in Salesforce Lightning. Any question till this point? Everyone clear? Okay, great. So now please note, there is something concept called as debugging concept. Now what is that? See, no matter whatever programming language you're using, the error may happen, issues may come, and you have to navigate with the code and find out what kind of syntax error, logical error, whatever are there. Okay, so sometimes these difficult errors are very difficult to identify and work on that, and that is the reason when programming error happens or nothing happens, then you will be going for debugging activity and you will traverse it or traces mostly when there is no message and it's like giving you no idea what's happening, what is the wrong thing, so it becomes very difficult. But this process is, if you follow the process of debugging activity and all, then it becomes very easy for you, and by this way you can perform this debugging very easily. Okay, so how we do debugging in JavaScript, let me just mention that. So I'm mentioning here, when we write a program, then errors are natural. But when we try to identify them or wanted to know the cause, it becomes difficult. So in this process, debugging helps. Okay. So how debugging is going to help us, and what actually we are going to do? Let's see one by one. So in this case, what we do, first point, let me mention. So in this process, what we are going to do is, in the debugging activity, we use the function called as console.log. And by the way, debugging is mostly not so easy, and but the advantage is mostly all browsers have their built-in JavaScript debugger, and this makes the work easy. And this way what happens with debugger, you can also set some kind of various values check, and we can write our code, execute, breakpoint, etc. So with this all properties built in a browser, we can perform the activity, and by activating the debugging, we can proceed the functionality. Okay, so let me mention something about uh, JavaScript debugger. So when it comes to JS debugging, things are bit better, as almost all browsers in the industry supports their inbuilt debugging process, which helps us to take advantage of various things like checkpoint, etc., which can vary browser to browser. Okay, so this way actually the things happen now. For example, there are some tools also by Firefox or or let's say Chrome. They support some amazing functionalities of debugging. They have some tools also, extensions also, Firebug and all, etc. It helps you to track actually what actually the things are happening in the process. Let me show you. So for example, let's say this is uh, Firefox. Right click on that and you can just inspect the element. You can just check here what actually is happening. You can see that this helps you to, let me just write some kind of change of code here. 1 minute. I will also do one thing. Okay, so we'll do one thing. We will, like, if you write anything here, whatever activity you will do, that will be displayed in the browser like this. Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll first of all write some kind of debugging statement here, and then I will come to this point. Let us see. And by the way, normally we follow the console debugging functionality, and we start the activity to understand what actually is happening. And this way we get the idea, like what we are working in this process, and what is going wrong, what is going right. That actually happens by using this inspector. Okay, so let me just mention here that uh, either we go for F12 on the browser and select the console option to see the console statements. Okay, so we mostly use F12 button to get the debug info, especially in console section. Okay, so let's see now how we can just do this kind of activity. In Apex we have system.debug, right? Same concept. We have console.log method, and we can just do one thing, write a console.log to display the JavaScript values, and we can perform some kind of functionality there. And also in the debugger window we can like set various values properties. Let me just write there. So in the same code, what we'll do, salary equal to something like that. Alerts for salary is no. Let me remove this. Let's say salary is equal to like this, and now for example, or let me do one thing. Where distance is equal to, for example, 100, where time equal to, let's say for example 1, let's say 2, and what we are doing that where we'll just do one thing here. We'll write in the function where time speed equal to distance time, and now this is important, console dot log, and then you mention speed. Okay, so this way you're writing something. And now you can just go to this and refresh the page once with the new code. Okay, and now when you are going to press on the press it, so you pressed on the press it button, something happened, but you don't know what happened, right? So in this case, press F12, press F12, and uh, once you press on F12, then you will see something like this that we saw, F12. Okay, and we'll do one thing just to get some idea. We are writing with a statement. Let me just modify here and mention speed of bus is equal to something like this. Okay, speed of bus is something like this, and we can write something like this, speed of bus is something like this. Okay, and also you can do one thing in the same format. You can also do where bus 1 is equal to, you can just do copy distance and paste. Okay, like this also you can just have, and we can set the value like this also. This also you can just you're creating some kind of properties for an object. Okay, this is declaring object. Okay, declaring normal variables. Okay, which is also mentioned here, by the way, or let me mention here by removing that line and just mention here normal variable. That's also possible. Okay, and whenever you want to perform some kind of activity, or you want to just generate some kind of information, then you can just also mention distance, and then you can check the benefit of the property bus 1, and then you can mention something like distance word and all. So this kind of things also you can perform, and this helps you to directly connect with the browser. The browser is already implemented. You just need to take the advantage of the functionality that we have discussed before some time. Okay, for example, so I will do one thing. I will write here line distance. First of all, distance of bus is something like this. The distance of bus something like this, and also time of bus is equal to bus dot time. And we'll do one thing. We'll remove this. Okay, and we'll do one thing. If we have any return value. Okay, so you can understand in future what we are doing in this comment, and here to display a message. Okay, and now here what we'll do after console, we'll just make the calculation speed distance, and we'll make a calculation. How we'll make calculation? Where time equal to, and we will bus 1 dot speed. Okay, speed of bus, distance of bus. Okay, so just do one thing. this copy, and this you copy. Okay, and now just you mention here something like this. So this way you are storing the value in an object now, and now it's like same like a collection. You are having multiple values together, but they are having of different types. So the only common thing between object and collection is that you are storing multiple values together, and the special thing here in collection is you are storing the value of same type, but here in JavaScript you are actually storing the value which is actually related to the same business entity or same instance, and that is actually giving you the facility of performing the process and storing different values, let's say speed, name, etc. We can perform all this kind of activity there. Okay, so let me show you now the console, and by the way we can also enter some kind of value and set some kind of value for that bus. So whenever we are performing some kind of functionality and we are making some kind of calculation, it all helps us to understand what exactly we are doing by this process. Okay, so uh, this is something related to the speed, time, and all these things. Okay, so let us proceed and calculate the thing. So uh, now what we'll do, that this button will press, and by the way we'll just here we can just mention here some small change. So we have set the distance, so copy here and mention here distance. Okay, because we are mentioning distance, so let's take distance. So divided by uh, distance divided by time, so time of bus. Okay, so this two values are we are declaring, so that is the reason we are taking two values. Here you can see distance and time. Okay, so I have taken distance and time. I'm just done the console.log, and then you divide by time because we are having time, so copy and paste. So distance divided by time is nothing but speed. We have just done in the reverse manner, but as we have values for distance and time, so we'll take that only because we don't have any value for the other variables, right? So whatever declaring that we need to take, so I'm modifying the code as per our data present. So distance present, time present, distance, time displayed, and now we'll take a speed from distance and time. That's it. Okay, so I'm just making change as per our data that we have. You can write any code, previous code also correct, this code also correct. Ultimately you should only ensure you should have that specific data or it will throw error. So now what we'll do, we'll just go to that browser, just go to that page, and I'm here. Okay, refresh the page, press on the button. So in the background console happen, and now you right click like this and go for inspect element, or you can press on the F12, anything is fine. And then once you come to this, then click on console, and time of bus to distance, then 100, and time, and you can see 50. Okay, and here also in the text we need to make some change. Here it is not time of bus, it is in fact speed of bus. So if the time is this, distance is this, then speed will be this. Okay, so this way we have made the correction. Come to this and perform the activity, and you can see now it's coming like time, distance, and this. We can refresh the page. Okay, you can refresh the page, because the important thing is unless you refresh the page you will not see the code. So first of all refresh the page and press, and then you can see correctly time, distance, speed. So unless you refresh you will not get the latest values. Okay, so this is how actually we can perform various activities, and we can set some kind of various values, etc., etc. So any question till this point? Any question till this point? Any question? Okay, there is a question in the chat box. Let me read that. So the question is that in JavaScript, do we have or can we use some functions? Can we use some functions which are related to? mm, okay, so the question is, do we have any functions of Java? Okay, so please note, actually there is no connection between the JavaScript and Java. It's just a name which came. So please note, it's not something which is like related to JavaScript and all. So please note, it's just some kind of coincidence that it's having the word Java. Otherwise, you will not see any kind of such thing. Okay, please note this point. I hope you are clear. Let me see next question. Okay, so I think all the questions are done. Now what we'll do, we will now try to execute one functionality, and that functionality is going to use going to give you the idea like how exactly the Salesforce lightning functionality we can enhance, and by with our knowledge we can also try to find out the issues. So mostly the problem is whenever actually you go for any kind of uh, like real-time projects and all. So please note, at that time the big issue is whenever you want to uh, identify actually how the work is happening and where the issue is coming. So in this case, please note, to identify the issues and understand where is the problem, this debugging helps us a lot. And you just need to do one important activity, that whenever you want to understand where the issue is coming from and what actually is the source of the issue, you can just go for the debugging activity and perform the debugging steps, and that's it. Okay, so this way actually the functionality works in debugging. Now let me see any other question is there in the chat box. Okay, fine, I think there is no question. So now what we'll do, guys, now we'll try to understand one more very important, you can say, keyword, which we guys can use whenever you're performing any kind of activity in Salesforce Lightning debugging mode. Something important and something interesting, let me just tell you about that. So this is called as the keyword, which is nothing but debugger. Okay, so what this debugger keyword will do, the debugger keyword stops the execution of JavaScript code. Okay, and calls if we have any kind of debugging function, if anything available. This has like the same function like a breakpoint in other technology. If no debugging is available, like we are not performing any kind of specific activity, then we can skip this. But the debugger is, when the debugging is turning on, then the code will stop executing, and we can easily understand what exactly is happening and how it's performing, etc., etc. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to write a code, debugger keyword. Okay, so this is something interesting, debugger keyword. This keyword is very useful, like a breakpoint in other technology. Here, JS code stops for some time and then process the remaining lines after that. Okay, and this is useful when we want to halt the code in between and analyze something. Okay, example, let's say for example, when I'm going to call the script function, let's say we have a function, okay, and let's say function my debug logic, something like this. Okay, so or let's say, or to make it more easy for understanding, code to debug. Okay, first of all we are declaring variable uh, speed. Okay, then variable distance, variable time. Okay, now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to here mention couple of things. Let's say for example I will do one thing, console log. We will and let's say we are going to also set the value. Okay, we'll set the value also. Speed is equal to, let's say, 100. Oh, wait, distance is equal to 100 kilometers, and let's say time taken is, let's say, 3 hours. Okay, and now see, we will calculate speed now. Okay, and just after that I will write debugger. Okay, and then I will perform some activity. Speed equal to distance, time, and then console.log speed of bus is equal to. Okay, and this is the code. So let's copy this code and go to the JavaScript function that we are using, let's say here. Okay, just below that, let's say I'm writing another function, and let me take to the right hand side, and also this value here. Okay, so this function will focus for debugging activity, and now what we are going to do, we will just write one more button, and in that button debug. Okay, and the function is go to debug. Okay, so save this page. So if you see, what actually we have done is we just try to ensure that we are having two buttons, and now in the two button we are going to press on debugging, which actually will help us to debug some kind of functionality. Now in this case we can perform step by step various activities which will actually give us the results in the console when actually we are going to perform some activity. So what we'll do here, we will just do one thing. Instead of console, we will write in alert, because you can see easily, because there are two windows, separate window for console, separate window for debug. So I cannot show you at the same time both the windows. So instead of console, we'll do one thing, we'll write this in alert, so it will be, you can understand how actually the code will stop for some time. Okay, I'm using alert, so this will stop, this calculation will stop because of this. Okay, debugger, so this will stop. Okay, I'm just writing alert function now, save it. Now just come to that browser. So I came to this browser, you can see this is a new code is coming here, two buttons and all. Now you go to F12. You go to F12, and now please note, in this F12, if you see, this is something. Let me just explain you that what exactly we are achieving. So what's happening is something like this. First of all, so let's say we have some kind of lines of code. Okay, then debugger line will come, and this will wait now. This will wait. This will give us time to just perform some kind of activity, debugging activity, and all these things. And then again, it will go to next. So it will not complete the activity. It will not just proceed and go for the entire code execution. It will wait for us. Okay, and here is the console window where you plan initially to display something, and here is debugger window. So both windows are separate. That is the reason at a time I cannot show you that the console statement is stopped, because debug is running. That is the reason the best way is, let's go for alert. Okay, so now you can see I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to press on this button now, see what's going to happen, and see the debugger mode is on. We are having debugging mode, and now what we'll do is first of all we will perform some kind of activity. Let's say we will just run this code. Okay, and once it is done, then we can just see how the things are happening one by one. Okay, so I'm going to press on now debug button. So as the debug button is pressed, okay, so I'm going to just do one thing. Okay, we'll calculate speed now. Okay, here also we'll make it alert. Easily you can learn these things by alert. We'll calculate speed burst now, but you can't see the speed alert until you uh, go to debugging window. Okay, because here, unless we go to debugging window and we proceed for the next value in this debugging, it's not going to happen. The next value is nothing but like is nothing but performing some kind of activity, like performing some kind of debugging functionality. Okay, so it will be stopping, and that is the reason we need to execute the debugging code and perform the activity accordingly. So let's do it now, because we are having all alerts available. So let us see. Let me load the page. So let me run the code, and debug window, resume the process, which you can do by F8 also. Okay, so please note this process resume you can do by F8 button helps to resume the to next level as the process is on hold due to debug mode. So you can see here how useful it is. Now it will first of all just stop here at this line. It will stop. Okay, will not get anything. So we need to press on F8 and go to next line. Then only the speed will be calculated. Then only it will be showing the alert value. Okay, so let's see. Save this code. Come to this Firefox window. Okay, now press on debug. Debugging started. Wait. Okay, press on debug. It's working. Okay, it's working directly. Now let me just do one thing. refresh the code, and here by coming to this functionality, you also save the code. Okay, save the code, and we have this alert value. Two alerts are there, and yeah, fine. So two alerts are there. Save, and now you come to the browser and refresh the functionality. And just to check, we have the latest value. Just to say we have the latest value. So here, go to debug. We have mentioned here, and also we'll just mention something like this to understand the latest version is coming here. Okay, so now you can see it was not saved, so it's coming now correctly because the page was not saved. We will calculate speed now, but you cannot see the speed alert until you go to debugging window, the same message, and after that immediately answer come. Okay, so please note, you want the code should stop, halt, give you the debug facility, then you go for F12 button, debugger, and now you see what's going to happen. Now you refresh and now you see the change. So please note, understand that if you are not going to go into the debugger mode, what will happen? There is no result. You must go to debugger mode, okay? Otherwise, no benefit. Now you press on debug. We will calculate speed now, okay? But you cannot see the speed until it's go to debugging window, correct? Now press on OK, and now you tell me where is the answer? Where is the answer? It's not coming, right? It stopped. The code it stopped now. The code is right now stopped, and you can see it stopped here. So this is the beauty of debugging. It gives lots of facility to us, and this helps us actually to check the various scenarios, the statement, the expression if you want to add or anything. You can just check here all the information. And let's say you want to go proceed, you want to proceed for next level, okay, then you can just press on this resume 8, okay, click on this, and now it's coming speed of the bus. So it's a very useful feature by which you can set what exactly you want to see, and also mention when it should be stopping, etc., etc. So this is something very important and useful for the debugging process, okay. And now the answer will come, and that's it. Okay, debug will be stopped. Okay, so any question till this point? Any question till this point? Everyone clear? Everyone clear till this point? We are learning some very important and advanced JavaScript, very useful for your lightning functionality. Okay, now please note, in this journey we have seen object event debugging. Now in the next session we are going to see best practice, common mistakes to JavaScript, reserved keywords, and some JSON things, and then we'll continue our journey to next level. Okay, so fine, have a great time for this week, and let's meet in the next weekend. I'm signing off. See ya.